Good evening, everyone. My name is Ben FLEISCHACKER with SCHEELS. Welcome to the second night of our virtual hunt fest. Tonight we're talking waterfowl. We got a couple great people up here we're going to bring up and introduce and talk some waterfowl and some strategy. And it's pretty funny because we already got a bunch of questions rolling in already, so it's going to be a fantastic night. Very excited for it. We would like to thank our sponsors, SITKA, Browning, MOMARSH, and HIGDON. So we've got Kyle Jones tonight, as well as Brook Richard, excuse me. I already asked him his last name and kind of screwed that one up already. Sorry, Brook. Anyways, we're very excited to get into this. Let's not really kind of joke around. Let's kind of start talking waterfowl. I mean, it's literally a couple weeks away, if not a week away up here in North Dakota for early goose. And you guys were already talking about going down south for some teal. We're excited about that. So, Kyle, would you mind introducing yourself here for us?
Hey, guys. Obviously, my name is Kyle Jones. Work for Power Calls, HIGDON Outdoors, and MOMARSH. And I do call production and like goose calling and hunting Canada geese and waterfowl hunting.
What is your resume for those contests? Because I'm pretty sure both of you guys are pretty
yeah, we both participate in contest calling regularly and annually. Obviously, this year with COVID, they've kind of shut a lot of those down. But 2008 Junior World Goose Calling Champion, 2018 World Goose Calling Champion, and 2019 World Goose Calling Champion.
Not bad. Brook?
My name is Brook Richard, originally from Lafayette, Louisiana. I've been working here at HIGDON Outdoors for about 5 years now. I run social media, do sales, just about anything you could imagine here at HIGDON. Kyle and I wear a lot of hats and live here in Paducah. Kyle and I both co-host HIGDON Outdoors television show, so we're blessed to travel all over, hunt a lot of places, see a lot of things. And I'm a two-man team live duck world duck calling champion. I've participated in Main Street calling contest, won a few contests there. Haven't won Worlds in Main Street yet, but you never know. There's plenty of time. But love spec calling, love duck calling, love hunting anything that'll put its feet down.
Absolutely. That's great. So where do you guys spend the majority of your time chasing waterfowl?
I think we really try to travel as much as we possibly can, whether it's for filming or whether it's just going home to hunt. I know Brook tries to go back to Louisiana, Arkansas. I try to go back to Michigan or anywhere really to try to just hunt. But majority of it's West Kentucky when we can't travel.
Yeah, the Mississippi Flyway, honestly. We've got a short leash during duck season because we're so busy. It's that time of year.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're not filming, if we're not filming our TV show, which we get to travel a bunch there, and you never know where you'll see us from anywhere in the lower 48 or even Canada. Typically speaking, West Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, really anywhere that we can drive and get back to work on Monday. You never know where we're going to be. Depends on what the weather report is and where the birds are.
Do you guys spend any time on the for like sea ducks or brants or anything like that?
Yeah. 2017.
Yeah.
At World Goose, we jumped in one of those little UFO-looking deals, layout boat, and hunted in Chesapeake Bay for a couple hours.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
It's saltwater teal hunting is what I call it, but we had a blast. We got some friends out there in Maryland when we go out, and Kyle participates in World Goose out in eastern Maryland. They invite us to go jump in layout boats and Chesapeake Bay, and we get to do stuff we don't do, and really we love doing stuff like that. Something different we don't get to do here in Mississippi Flyway, so it's super enjoyable, and we look forward to doing it again.
It's probably one of the most intimidating hunting situations you can ever get in, because you're in like the ocean and you're looking at this layout boat and you're like stepping down below the surface of the water, and it's screams sketchy for sure.
Yep, I believe it. Yeah, I know some of the guys in the Great Lakes area do it for some old squaw, which I would never assume old squaw in the Great Lakes area, but
it's on the bucket list.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, 2021, right? All right. Yeah, unless you can do it this fall, hopefully.
Sure.
So do you guys spend more, what layout situation or hunting situation are you guys in? Layouts, layout of the boats? Are you guys in pit blinds? Are you guys just covering up in a field with a blanket? What's the majority of your time spent?
Sure. We've got, of course, with MOMARSH, the company's saying hunt hard, hide easy. So we make some great products, a lot of different products that allow us to hunt in several different situations. So whether it's a layout boat or layout blind or shallow water solutions such as the Invisiman hunting flooded agriculture, and you need a place to hide in water, you know, we've got permanent blinds here, like the Higdon farm that you see a lot on our TV show, and then also we hunt pits a lot. Really, it really just depends on where we're hunting and how many people we're trying to hide, but we're very familiar with all of it. I'd say if we're least familiar with anything, it's probably the tandem UFO layout boats in saltwater more than anything, but really anything in between a pit blind, a permanent blind, and trying to hide in flooded cornfield. Different day of the week, you never know what we're going to be doing.
And it's nice too, because at Higdon, I mean, the guys that are developing the products are also the guys and gals spending the time in the field.
Absolutely.
So I mean, you're taking.
We got some really cool stuff coming out too. So
yeah, your guys is dog best, man. I'll tell you what, I cannot wait to get my hands on one of those.
I know a guy.
Yeah, do you? Yeah, if there's going to be available. It sounds like pre-sale has been fantastic for you guys on that.
Yeah, it has. It's been great for us.
All right, so let's talk some calls too, I guess, while we're at it, before we start jumping in here.
Sure.
I saw, Brooke, I saw you messing with something. Was that a short read? Or was that a duck call?
I'll let Kyle do all the goose calling. I've got a spec call, 2 duck calls, and a whistle on my lanyard. And if I want to hunt Canada geese, I call Kyle. So I'll let him do all the goose calling.
Yeah.
Do you do any fluke calling? Or is it all short read?
No, I just do majority all short read. That's kind of what I started in. I started goose calling whenever the short reads were kind of taking over everything, and fluke calling was kind of obsolete.
Yep.
So it's mainly short read, and that's by far, in my opinion, just very, very versatile form of calling for Canadas.
Absolutely. The big river will never die, though.
Not at all. Not at all.
Great. So some of the questions I guarantee that we're going to start seeing here. Here's one. Ryan L. What are some of the best beginner calls and resources for learning how to call and how to choose the correct sound at the correct time? I mean, that's about an 18-layer question, but let's start with some basics. Let's start with basic duck and basic goose. So
why don't you tackle the education side?
Yeah. First and foremost, I try to help as much people as I possibly can, whether they're reaching out via social media or whatever. And that's or if we're at like a SCHEELS Expo or something like that, people come up. That's the best form of learning. Obviously, COVID kind of has a little bit of obstacles that people have to jump over, but if you can get to an expo or anything like that to learn hands-on from the guys that are actually selling the calls that are in the SCHEELS stores, I think is most important. You get guys like, Field Hudnall, Scott Trinan, those guys are there. They're willing and very, very ready to teach you guys to teach people how to goose call. Yep. Obviously, we spend a lot of time in the cars finding a good CD or audio. I know Scott does a great job with his Bad Grammar DVDs. Sean Stahl with his old video Honker Talk. That was probably my go-to. And then I know Zinc Calls offers their DVD and CD as well. We're working on one, but it's a work in progress. But that's the best way to do it. And then just trying to practice as much as possible. When it comes to choosing a short read Canada goose call, if you're just beginning, go to the store and get one that does come in a DVD pack, or a Surge, or any of the other call selections that are within that $50, $60 price range. Learn the basics, your honk, your cluck, your moan, and then graduate up to a more advanced call, like a premium call, frequency, or one of the calls like a CNS. I know CNS calls is carried in SCHEELS as well, something like that, where you crawl and walk before you run, and then that's whenever you advance up to the better call, the more premium call that's going to last you the lifetime of a waterfowl.
So somebody doesn't have to jump into an acrylic call right away. They can use polycarb. They can use a mixture of polycarb and wood.
Sure. Absolutely.
The geese don't care at the end of the day, or ducks even.
That's That's right.
Yeah, I think Kyle hit the nail on the head. The walk, crawl, run method is our crawl, walk, run, more like it. I can't express that enough. Too many times you see young, energetic beginner callers wanting to go fast and wanting to do all these things, and they miss that opportunity to get a solid foundation that they're going to build on. So whether it's YouTube or buying a DVD or going to like callingducks.com has some great info, people trying to teach folks. Don't try to do a a rolling feed call and a duck call before you learn how to quack. You know, just take your time, do it, build that good foundation, reach out to people in the industry, like folks like Kyle and I. You'll find at every call company, at every sporting goods store, there's somebody always there that would love to teach somebody. And I think that's the nature of what we do is we want to help. So don't be scared to pick up the phone and ask someone if you're doing something wrong, because folks like Kyle and I will probably end up on the other end of the phone.
Well, and even today with all the technology, YouTube and social media, I mean, there's so many options and tools out there for people. You know, given 15, 20 years ago, I mean, it's literally cassettes, DVDs, CDs. I mean, it's insane what everything can do. I mean, because even with the goose, in my opinion, some of that back pressure and your hand placement is so vital. You know, and you can listen to a DVD or I want to say cassette tape, but cassette tapes, right? I mean, old school, right? But you can't see what you're doing with your hands. You know, you can listen, but you can't see it. Versus duck, it's important, but it's not vitally important, right?
Yeah, and I mean, with especially once it comes to spec calling too. And I'll give, I've had a great teacher here, but hand position is way more important with spec calling than it is with duck calling and even some Canada goose calling. So
even like with a flute though, like spec calling, a lot of it is your hands. And I'm not a Canada goose caller, but Kyle teaching me how to hold my hands in a flute allowed me to make simple notes that I can stumble my way through on a short read, but could never get out of a flute. It's having the right teacher, or really not even the teacher, just the right information. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you go on Google and type in "how do I," and then whether the next species is duck, goose, crane, swan, whatever it is, call. You'll find some good stuff. It's out there. Don't shortchange yourself. Go look for it, and you'll find some great information.
Yep. Well, why don't we jump in? Do you guys mind doing the basics? Let's start with goose.
Sure.
And then jump into the basics of duck.
Sure. So with a short read Canada call, any guy that's beginning, I personally recommend. Everybody's different. I personally recommend learning cluck, double cluck, and a moan.
Yep.
Learn those three, and you will absolutely. And obviously, putting that and tying that into reading the birds is completely different. But
it's another topic.
Knowing those notes is going to help you tremendously in the long run. Cluck is just a single goose.
Which call are you using, Kyle?
This is the Power Call Surge. It's actually in the giveaway that you guys got going on too.
Awesome.
So it's a short read Canada goose call. Comes with broken in guts.
Which is for those that don't know.
So I don't know if you can see that or not. So this reed in the goose call, there's a tone board. That reed is actually going to vibrate, and that's what's making the noise inside of the goose call. And what happens whenever you blow this call a lot is that reed will actually make indentations on that tone board, and it just creates a really, really solid full goose tone. Well, we took that and we molded it, and we now have a brand new goose call with a full goose tone right out of the box.
Broken in guts right away.
Yep, broken in guts right away. So that way guys that are wanting to sound, like a really full big goose right out of the box, I mean, it's right there. So the calling is a cluck, a double cluck, and a moan. A cluck is a single goose, double cluck is two geese. Geese are very aggressive, so you can always go slow, you can go fast, but it's just going to sound like this right here. So a cluck is so you can tell I kind of brought my cadence up just a little bit to sound like it's getting a little bit more aggressive as a goose, or I can back it off, space it out, and just do a single cluck, like a goose walking through a field. And then you've got a double cluck, which is a high-pitched cluck and a low-pitched cluck, but I'm also going to, whenever I do that high-pitched cluck, I'm going to open my hands up slightly and then add a little bit higher-pitched voice inflection like I'm singing, and then whenever I do my low cluck, I'm going to close my hands up just slightly and do a lower-pitched cluck like Josh Turner singing country music. He's got that low-pitched, bassy voice. That's all I'm going to do. So then it's going to just sound like two geese. Very much just like that single cluck, change the cadence if you want to slow it down, or if you want to speed it up and get a really, really good, aggressive 2 geese talking back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is just a moan. All it is, and everybody hears that. That's like that. That's that note that everybody's sitting in the duck blind, and they're just like, they start to panic because they hear that, right? And they're like, okay, there's a goose coming by. So you can team all those notes together, and that's a great, great building block to really have a great playbook when it comes to calling Canada geese and hunting and killing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that was about 99 miles per hour, but
no, it's great. And, I mean, there's the resource out there. We've already talked about that. So if someone's really getting in there, okay, here's the 3 calls I need to master, right?
Yep.
Before I can take the next step and really putting that cadence together and, you know, changing it up. And then the next step, I mean, going back to Ryan's question is about reading some of the birds. I mean, you know, are you guys looking at wingtips? Are you guys looking at feet? I mean, obviously if the feet are down, that's a pretty good sign, but are you calling to in the corners? Are you calling them straight at you?
Oh, when it comes to that, I'm a huge advocate of trying to call as much on the corners unless when the birds are actually coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very reserved and conservative when it comes to calling because I don't want to give them and show them everything that I've got beforehand, because then it's just elevator music to them, especially if they're not showing they're interested. And I'm sitting here, they're already coming, I'm calling a bunch, and then they just kind of slide off. Well, now I've got nothing else to throw out there. So I try to keep it reserved, keep it simple, and get a little bit more aggressive on those turns and on those corners, just because that will hopefully center those birds right back up with you and have their attention on the decoy spread.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a loaded question. Though, man.
It's tough. I get it.
But and then, you know, I also listen and try to, if birds are extremely aggressive in the air, I'm trying to maybe show a little bit more aggression on the ground, because geese aren't really, they're trying to prevent those other geese from coming in and landing with them. You know, and that's a very big, there's some disconnect there with guys, because ducks, they're trying to, you know, it's a hen and you're trying to convince the drakes to come down.
Mm-hmm.
But with geese, they're just saying, hey, stay back, stay away from my food, or my area, my zone, my mate. And they're trying to push those geese off to the side. So if they're already aggressive in the air, I might try to get a little bit more aggressive with them on the ground. So.
All right, Brooke.
I'm taking notes. I'm learning.
This is great. Yeah.
Everything's starting to make sense now.
Connecting the dots.
No, Kyle's right. You know, and I think that's with any waterfowl species, calling birds on the corner, letting a little bit of rope out at a time. If you show them your ace card right at the beginning and then they swing out and you've got to turn them back around several times, you know, we see it in other people hunting. We make that mistake sometimes, and we have to learn from it in each different hunting scenario. But save that ace card for the end, because 9 times out of 10, waterfowl are going to try to trick you. They're looking for you. And if you have one more thing to show them right there at the end, a lot of times that's the difference between shooting them at 50 and shooting them at 15. So, you know, if you're a waterfowler and you've never been burnt doing it, you're a liar. And if you don't learn from it, it's kind of the definition of insanity. So calling less, knowing when to call, watching what the bird's doing, you know, adjusting their mannerism, and then always leaving one extra trick in your bag. Hopefully you never have to use it, but it'll put more birds on the table for you. Absolutely.
All right. Sounds like the audience is very excited for more calling. So let's jump to you, Brooke. Let's do some basics of duck, and then we'll go back to goose. And then I might have you do, maybe not like a contest cadence or anything like that, Kyle, but and also Brooke, but maybe kind of do a sequence. You know, if the birds are coming in, not turning to you, and then have one that's going to actually, they're committed to you. I mean, because sometimes, I mean, and you guys experience way more than I do, but sometimes they don't want to be called all the way down, you know, through the decoys, versus you make one noise and they're coming in anyways. But you want to. That's North Dakota
basics
birds.
of duck calling. I mean, everything. If someone's buying a duck call on the, you know, a blister pack duck call on the shelf at SCHEELS for the first time, and whether you're old or young, the quack is what you need to master first. And I've just got a single reed power call here. A quack is very simple. If you've never heard a duck quack, go to a park and you'll hear one. But what a lot of people don't realize is you're actually shaping that note, and it's very important to master how to start the note and how to finish the note before you move on. And the way to do that is just think of a whistle. When you whistle, what you're going to hear is your tongue is going to stop that note at the end. And when you start a note with your mouth open and then you finish that note by shutting it off quick, it sounds something like this in the back of the call. And then you add, like anybody else has ever told you, the quarterback hut method. You know, you're bringing it up from your stomach. It's coming up, your stomach's flexed, hut, 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 but you're stopping the note. And that sounds something like this. Once you master that and do it over and over and over again until your mom tells you to go outside and bother the neighbors, you can build cadences off of that. So cadence in a duck call, a good one that I was taught from a young age is the song Three Blind Mice. 3 blind mice. It's starting to get more advanced, but in time, you'll be able to start the note, stop the note before you continue the second note. 3 blind mice, and then you're going to crawl, you're going to walk, you're going to run. So start slow, build up, add 2 quacks to the end, and then kind of sounds like a duck, you know. So, and then based off of that, now you've got everything you need to build just about any cadence you've ever heard any instructional DVD talk about, or tape, or 8-track, whatever age you are. You know, and ducks quack. That's the reality of it, is a mallard hen quack. So she's going to quack. She's going to get excited. She's going to beg that mallard drake who's swinging on top of the trees to come back once he's leaving. It's the same note. It's a quack. I'm just building on that simple quack. And just like me talking to Kyle right here, if he's right here and you do something cool, I'm going to say, Kyle, Kyle, Kyle. It's a great greeting. If Kyle's far away, he's on the other side of the office here, I'm going to say, Kyle, Kyle. So get your quack, understand what you're saying, but get your quack right is the most important aspect of learning how to blow a duck call. Once you get it right and you master it, you can learn all these different mannerisms of a mallard duck, and the vocabulary starts coming together really quick. But if you skip the first step, never learn how to quack, it's very, very hard to teach yourself how to quack again once you develop bad habits. So that's the quack. That's how I explain it to people, and you can't cheat it. It's going to take some time, so don't be scared to do it over and over again.
So what's your thoughts on single reed versus double? I mean, obviously there's triple and there's whatever. But
I'm a single reed guy. I like some double reeds are great. I personally like the single reed because I can manipulate it more. It's less restrictive for me the way I call. I like single reeds. I tell everybody who wants to blow a duck call or learn how to blow a duck call. Number one, start what you're confident in. So if you pick up a single reed and you can't make a sound, and you pick up a double reed, and that's a better place to start, good for you. But if you're seriously wanting to progress and you want to be able to manipulate a call, or you're ready for that step and being able to fully resemble a mallard duck's vocabulary, a single reed is what I'd recommend. A true single reed is going to give you more range, and most of the time it's going to give you more volume. So when you need it, you've got it, and you've got more tricks in your bag. That's my opinion. Everyone's got one, of course, but if I could recommend anyone who's buying a duck call now, try a single reed, even though it may be a little bit more complex. You won't have to rely on taking your training wheels off once you learn how to do it. Your training wheels will be off, and you're off to the races, and there's no learning how to manipulate a call differently. You're starting with what you're going to finish with as an advanced caller, and you can grow into it.
So with the quack, how many different types of duck calls? That's not what I'm trying to say. How many different cadences or styles? The comeback, the hail call, whatever. It all starts with the quack, correct?
Yeah, everything starts with a quack. The only thing that doesn't really start with the quack is a feed, and that's a little different. But.
Could you demonstrate the chuckle for everybody?
Sure. So I'll keep it very basic. That's just a single cut feed. I'm just going almost like a CAH type sound, and I'm using pressure in my mouth to make that reed slap the tone board. Sounds like this in the back of the call. It's all about punctuation, just like giving a speech. You want to be proper, speak clearly, and enunciate your words right. And that's where everyone should start with a feed. I could blow a really fast, super complex feed call, and anyone who's actually wanting to learn from it is just going to say that sounds cool, and they won't gain anything from it other than like I can blow a duck call. So it's great to be able to blow a feed call fast, but when we're hunting, a lot of times we kill a lot more ducks than the fastest rolling feed you can make. It's enunciated well, birds can hear it, and it's a hungry duck. So it's a little bit more realistic, and just keep it simple, stupid. Like my math teacher used to always tell me, the KISS method will get you far in the field.
Perfect. All right, Kyle, you mind doing a little sequence on your goose?
Yeah, I'll actually just do something like geese, like what we just talked about, geese on the corner trying to get their attention. They're kind of being a little stubborn, but I'm only going to use the 3 notes, those 3 basic notes, to trying to just give those guys an example of that. So they're heading off. Very simple. As 3 notes. That's all it was. It's a cluck, a double cluck, and a moan.
So does that right there, does that carry over from the stage to the field and field to the stage? Is that exact? Or are you doing anything different?
Yeah, I would say in controlling it, absolutely. Because on the stage, it's not necessarily a hunting situation that you're trying to, you're just basically showing the control of the caller and the maximum function of the call when it comes to calling competitions. But when it comes to hunting, I know that when I want to go do that note, I'm going to be able to do it.
Yep.
But then at the same time, I know that with those geese on those corners, I'm able to control those geese in most scenarios. But I would say there's certain parts of your calling competition that those 3 note variations would come in very, very handy.
Very good. All right, Brooke, you're up.
What's up? Just a guy from South Louisiana learning about goose calling.
That's right.
To see here.
We're all students tonight. Do you mind doing do something similar with the ducks on the corners?
Sure.
I mean, let's do something maybe not flooded timber. Most of our market's going to be in the grain belt for the most part, or rivers. Something similar to that.
Yeah. So similar scenario. Ducks are a little bit different. It's not constant calling, but I'll just run through a few sounds and a scenario that what I would use if I see ducks far away and they're not looking at me. I'll call them. I'll get them to come to me. And they're approaching, and then they'll leave again, and I'll bring them back. So just like in a hunting situation, really, no matter where you are, is get their attention, try to convince them to finish, they leave, and then we try to get their attention again and then set them on the water.
Yep.
Same 3 notes, same aspect. I didn't do anything fancy. It sounds like a lot, but it's really quacks and little single cuts. It's how you manipulate the call and really not necessarily what you're saying, but how you're saying it. It's just like when you're having a conversation with somebody, you're telling that bird what to do. You're not asking yet. And then when I can ask Kyle who or who, it means 2 different things in context. So ducks have a vocabulary. We'll never understand it, but just like Kyle was saying, those 3 basic sounds will go a long way. Those are really the only 3 sounds I make whenever I'm duck hunting. And no need to do anything crazy, just like contest calling with goose stuff. There's a lot of things you can do on stage that I'm capable of, but they're not necessary in the field. But I know I can do them if I have to. Having more tricks in my bag than the guy next to me wins a lot of battles.
Oh, yeah.
But those 3 basic sounds will get you far in life, and know what you're saying to those ducks, demand their attention, don't ask for it, and know what you're doing when you're doing it. And every time,
yeah, every time, right?
Yeah, every time.
Everybody saw that.
Never seen it not work. Never, not once.
Holding you accountable. Do you have a spec call on that lanyard?
Yeah, I do. What would you like to hear? Because it's really loud.
Well, we've got one of the questions. How do you hunt call specs? Multiple times, I guess it looks like that.
Specs are a little bit different from duck calling, and it's more similar to Canada goose hunting, but I like to refer it more to like your small geese, your cacklers.
Yep.
It's a lot of noise. They're busybodies. They're bumblebees. They're talking a lot. It's like snow geese. If you ever hear them not talking, something's up.
Yep.
So the way I call specs is I call them to the ground. I want their attention now. I won't call at them if they're about to get shot at, of course, but I will call it specs until I know that they're within range, and I want to call them until I'm ready to tell everybody to pick their guns up. So spec calling, you've got 3 basic sounds, just like anything else, duck and goose calling. You've got your yodels, which is what a lot of people know specs to sound like. And then you've got your clucks. And you've got your moans or your murmurs on the bottom. You mix those 3 sounds together, and because specks are a little bit different than a lot of birds, and they just make noise because they're eating. They're very aggressive. You mix those together. Use your tempo as your tempo when it increases. That's the I want to turn them back around. When you slow it down and go slow, that's whenever you're more relaxed and you can let more rope out. Whenever they're finishing, they leave. You get more aggressive, bring them back in. Yep. Those 3 sounds sound like this. So those 3 sounds, same thing. It sounds a lot. Speck calling is a lot different. I can't blow a Canada goose call because there's a lot of habits that you develop in speck calling that prevent you from easily blowing a Canada goose call and vice versa. But if anybody wants to pick up like a speck call and learn, hand placement is key. It's not something like a Canada goose call where you're controlling it. Your hands are in a stationary position. That's an extension of the call. And very simple sounds that are relatable with Canada goose calling are like a cluck, a spit note. There's things. Air presentation is very similar. If you can master a speck call or a duck call or a Canada goose call, you can make enough sounds in a speck call to successfully harvest them. Yep. And keep it simple. I mean, it goes a long way. There's a lot of people who harvest a lot of birds, specks that is, that can't necessarily blow a speck call well, but just like anything else, if you're in the right spot, know what you're looking for, less is more a lot of times. And that's how I hunt specks is I run smaller decoy spreads. I hide very well. And I don't necessarily hunt their X, but I know they're going to fly over me. And specks are very, very susceptible to new areas, and calling will manipulate specks just like a Canada goose. You can get a bird to do something that otherwise wouldn't want to run in traffic. So I'd suggest anybody, if you see specks, they're using a field, you can hunt their X, but if you want to shoot them the rest of the season, get somewhere between where they're going and where they are. And doesn't take a whole lot of decoys, doesn't take a whole lot of calling. You'll get them to do it. And hide very well. They're just like a snow goose, but they listen like a Canada, and they're fun to hunt. That's what makes specks fun. That's why everybody likes to hunt them. They're showing up. Go try, and it's not that hard, really. It isn't. I like to say it's super hard and everything, but it's not. There's a lot of things that go into Canada goose calling that are super relatable to speck hunting. All you gotta do is get a different game call, and you have a dog in the fight.
What's your spread look like?
Typically speaking, it depends, of course. If I'm in a field where I know they're going to fly over, and let's just say it's a dry field, it's chiseled soybean field, and we're hunting in layout blinds, brushed in. If I've seen specks in that field using it, 2-3 dozen specks, maybe 1 or 2 snow geese, just so I know that they're going to see me when I call at them. And I don't typically like to put my furthest speck decoy any further than I'm willing to shoot, because specks are really weary. If they're going to flare, they're going to flare over that first decoy once they figure out your script, and I'd rather that be at 30 than 70. So very small decoy spread, hide very well, and that goes a long way, and you can continue to add more. A lot of times with speck hunting, less is more. They see a lot of big spreads, especially big Canada spreads and big duck spreads that people will blow a speck call at them at and then shoot them when they fly over, not finishing birds. So they're very well educated when it comes to big decoy spreads. They'll figure you out like a snow goose will. But in my opinion, ideal spread, I'm hunting a dry field, in a field that I've seen 1 or 2 specks hit, maybe see them, they're comfortable in that field, pick a place where I can hide, not put my furthest speck decoy any further than where I want to shoot. And that works out for me. No one else do it. That way it still helps. I can still be successful, but it's really not a big secret. It's a very fun way to hunt, and it doesn't take a whole lot to do it. Just go out and do it. They're fun to hunt. They listen well, and anybody sees specks, just call me. I'll come hang out with you.
You'll help, right?
Right. Hey, have a gun, we'll travel.
Yep. All right. So this is kind of a double-edged question as well, coming from the audience out there. So one of the questions, and this is something that, I've had this conversation with friends before about flyways moving. Are they adjusting? What's causing them to kind of adjust? And so the second part of this question is that, historically, when you look at some of the information out there, they're going to talk about the fly zone or the flyways, correct? The Atlantic, the Pacific, you got the Mississippi, the Central, whatever it might be. So when you're looking at that, obviously that's just a generic map they're showing you. However, when you're keying in on those bodies of water or a water source or whatever, and then the feed and everything else, when you're virtually scouting, whether I see, Kyle, you got an Onyx shirt on, whether it's Onyx or whether it's another, service out there, what are you guys looking for? Outside of boots on the ground, obviously boots on the ground is going to be the most important one, but from a distance, what are you guys doing?
Well, first to answer the first part of that question, a good buddy of mine, Sean Stahl, told me with as far as the flyways shifting, I 100% wholeheartedly agree that they are slightly shifting. And his best response to that was, if you got punched in the mouth every single day walking home from school, you'd probably walk a different way home from school.
Good analogy.
That's getting very transparent. I know from past experience. No, but I think that's very, very true. Because I mean, it's resonating, especially down here as you get down further south. You get in a lot of clubs and leases and stuff like that, and that could be up in those Minnesota areas too. There's a lot of guys that are Canada goose hunting now, and I know that there's some shifting going on with those.
Yeah, and to complement that, I mean, I don't think flyways are shifting. I think we're helping shift, and there's two things we can't control.
That's what we're doing.
That is weather, and the other thing is timing. So the things we can control that humans are helping shift these flyways are the pressure, modern farming practices,
habitat,
and really the other one is lack of pressure. So birds are going where they're safe. We're pushing them there, and then like in South Louisiana, if you plant more sugarcane than rice, it's pretty tough to ask a duck to land in a sugarcane field.
Yep.
So there's several things, and it's warm. It's a lot of people wanting to hunt. I don't blame the ducks. I really don't. It's that I want them to be around forever. I wish they all lived in my backyard, but that wouldn't be very good for the ducks. So I think Kyle's absolutely right. I'm on the get punched in the mouth analogy. Ducks are smart. They're very resilient. Same thing with geese.
Yep.
If I'm a bird, I'm not going where someone's going to shoot at me. I'll find somewhere else to go.
And that's part of I mean, I think one of you already said it. I mean, it was Brooke, you said it. Hunt the X versus running traffic. Sometimes that X, you're going to burn that field up and you can push the birds out, right? Or shooting a roost up or something that, I mean, obviously we all do our best as sportsmen not to do that. However, we've all experienced it. So what do you guys do in a high pressure area then? Small spreads, big spreads, mega spreads, family groups?
Well, here especially is numbers. I mean, you'll walk, the guys in the pit next to you are trying to run. I mean, there's guys down here that run 125 to 200 dozen decoys around their pits and their blinds. Now, and they're just trying to create and simulate a refuge because we're so close to a major migration pattern in the Mississippi River, or major migration route. Mississippi River, Reelfoot Lake, 10 Mile Pond, you name it. So we're right at the confluence of the Ohio and the Mississippi River. So these guys are really just trying to look like the biggest refuge that they can possibly be. You get outside of areas that are around here, I'm just trying to do something very, very simple, because by the time guys are trying to go and outdo the next guy hunting next to them or down the road from them, they're getting so far advanced that they're not backing off. I'll go in where I grew up in Michigan, I'd hunt a high pressured area. I wouldn't hunt more than 10 decoys because I know that everybody else, as season gets later, they're trying to add numbers. They're trying to go 7 to 10 dozen full body Canadas, 10 dozen sleeper shells. I'm trying to back off that and just really, really focus on looking extremely real, hiding even better, and just getting under where some birds, like what Brooke was saying, instead of hunting an X, I'm trying to hunt somewhere where I can just get under them.
And I think that's a great analogy. And back to the running traffic versus hunting the X. There's nothing wrong with hunting the X, but it's hunting it effectively, shooting your birds, getting out, letting them sit back down.
In and out.
And exactly. And whether it's ducks, where we hunt the HIGDON farm right here at the confluence of the Ohio Mississippi River, ducks don't live here. When it gets cold, the ducks fly the river. We've got big spreads. They see them, and they are literally coming out of the atmosphere, it seems like. And they'll hang out a little bit and loaf, but on the majority of the time, just like the Reelfoot Lake mentality, it's thousands and thousands of decoys. And when they show up, if you're the first person they see with the biggest refuge, you win. But if you're going to go hunt geese, whether it's Canada's, specks, snow geese, or even ducks, if you see ducks there and you know they're going to come back, why would you put more decoys out and risk them? Well, there was only 100 of us here yesterday. Now there's 4,000. You can just use a small spread, like Kyle was saying, a couple dozen decoys. Keep it simple. All you got to do is try not to mess it up at this point. You know they're coming. You're happy. Hunt the X. You're in. You're out. Everybody's happy. save them for another day. And that's how everybody wins. The ducks don't necessarily win, but you win because you've got to shoot your birds, and those ducks can continue to thrive on that local environment there. You don't have to hunt them every day, but you save that spot, and you didn't have to spend 4 hours picking decoys up. So keep it simple. It works. When you're hunting the X, less is more, in my opinion.
Now, for one of the questions here is, how do you avoid overcalling? I think that's kind of, again, one of those what-if situations. I mean, if you got fresh birds versus stale birds, pressure versus not pressure, what do you guys kind of use as a rule of thumb? I mean, obviously you're working birds, and that's going to tell you what you're doing or not doing.
You can go ahead first.
If you're calling a bunch and they're not finishing how you want to, try calling less. I mean, seriously, I know. I mean, trust me, I'm not old. I'm young. I'm energetic. I'm optimistic. I love blowing a duck call, but I'm not there to blow my duck call. We can do that at the truck. I'm want to do whatever it takes to finish those birds as best as possible, especially if we're filming. So calling's great, but I'm constantly, I know Kyle is too, when we hunt together, you can run through a process of, oh, when these birds are coming from this direction and I call at them here, they react this way. Okay, well, that happens 2 or 3 times. That's a constant. Remember it. And then if something goes wrong, remember what went wrong and don't do it again. Try something different. So for me, if I'm calling at birds and they're not finishing, well, maybe call less. Okay, well, that didn't necessarily work. Maybe call it a different time. How do I get them to finish within 3 swings instead of 13? Because that's a big deal. So figuring them out, every place is different, and it doesn't matter how good of a caller you are. It's all about timing, and it's all about what you're showing that duck when it's ready, or that goose when it's ready to hear it. You're looking for that. You're looking for that bird wanting to hear your calling. You're not sitting there trying to say, well, I'm going to sound like so many ducks it can't refuse. Yeah, you may get away with that sometimes, but what you'll realize is you could probably put your call up and it happened anyway. So,
how many times has that happened? You guys just sitting in the blind or whatever else, not paying attention, you get something that finishes out, right?
Yeah, and geese are a little bit different, of course, but as far as ducks go, being in the right spot will make you look like the best dang duck caller in the world. I'll be the first one to tell you that, but getting their attention, manipulating the birds, choosing what side of the spread they land on, you can get real finite. And in reality, it's not necessarily what do the birds like. It's figuring out what they absolutely don't like and never doing it again on that morning or that afternoon. And it goes a long way. So the definition of insanity, if you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, you're insane. So things that I look for is birds not finishing. And if that doesn't work, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to try something else. And really, I can't sit here and say what people should do or shouldn't do, because every place is different. No 2 callers are the same. No 2 ducks are the same. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. And figure out what you did to make 1 duck finish and plan on doing that about 24 times a morning if you got a few buddies with you.
Yep. And to add to that, I have just 2 different thought processes that I use when it comes to in a situation where I'm not necessarily hunting traffic, because in traffic you're going huge decoy spreads, lots of calling. I'm just doing it as like a reference of what we've been talking about, looking extremely real, keeping it simple, getting under the birds at some point in their flight path. I look at the first one is any indication of that bird's body language changing from when I started calling, right? And usually if there's a slight change in their body language, say they're just cruising along and I hit them with a couple fast clucks and they just immediately turn, right? I'm going to keep on doing that, right? But at the same time, when it comes to that, I'll try to test that as well. And that leads you to the second point is I try to go, if I'm doing single clucks, right? I'm thinking of, instead of in traffic where, compare it to like boxing, right? You've got Floyd Mayweather out there throwing a million jabs. And that's what I refer, hunting traffic. I'm trying to find that in between of being a Mike Tyson and a Floyd Mayweather when it comes to calling. I'm trying to get my biggest punch out. I'm trying to pack my biggest punch with each note that I'm giving. So that will either, I'll either start to slow down as soon as I got that bird to change directions or to focus on my spread, or I'll start to speed up. Just depends on what that bird's body language is, alternated to.
How it's responding. Yeah. All right, so I think I'm going to cut us off on this topic, and now we're going to transition to dogs, because there's a lot of dog questions. So the first one I'm going to bring up, just because I think it's in my opinion, probably one of the more important dog questions I see right now in this time is the first aid. So what do you guys bring in the field? And this could be, I mean, this is transitional from not only waterfowl hunting, but it could be upland hunting. It could be just taking your dog for a hike, right? I mean, we all have dogs, not all, but majority of us do have dogs now. And so, I mean, what do you guys pack with you?
Sure. So I'll go first. I keep a first aid kit in my blind bag for my dog. He's got his own blind bag. Love my dog to death. He's crazy, and I don't like hunting without him. So he's got a big first aid kit. It's, you know, it's in the size of a quart bag, but it's got saline solution to clean out his eyes. It's got ear solution to clean out his ears. A lot of times when you're hunting, you'll get seeds and everything in there. Q-tips to clean eyes, Neosporin. There's so many things you can get. A small tourniquet, alcohol. The best advice I ever got from anybody is you can bring as much first aid as you want for your dog or for you. If there's one thing I could tell anybody with the dog is when you go on a trip, when you plan your trip and you know where you're staying and you know where you're hunting, get on your phone, find the nearest emergency veterinarian practice. I don't care if it's an hour away, 6 hours away, 6 minutes away. If something goes wrong, you need to know where to take that dog. Snake bites, hypothermia, heat exhaustion, whatever it is, punctures, impalement. There's only so much you can do with a first aid kit. And dogs are tough. If a dog gets cut, it's going to want to still hunt. It's not going to tell you. But if a dog gets cut and you don't have the capability of sewing your own dog up or applying local anesthesia to sedate the dog so it doesn't hurt itself further, knowing where that nearest vet clinic is or animal emergency hospital is going to save your dog's life, and it's going to stop you from being in a bad position. Because I'm not going to perform surgery on my dog in the field because I didn't go to school for 20 years. But what I can do is I can pick my dog up, get in the truck, drive 12 miles down the road, put him in the hands of somebody who can save his life. That's the best first aid kit you could ever bring with you. In my opinion, it's just having that knowledge, knowing when something goes wrong, not if, what direction you're driving that truck will make the world of a difference, and your dog will be there to fight another day.
So what do you,
it's a big deal.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off. Kyle, did you have something too on that?
No, one of the, I mean, whether you're waterfowl hunting, upland hunting, we always have like bags of gear, right? Blind bags, backpacks, whatever. One of the ones that I was recommended was one of the, you know, the stretchy fabric baby slings, because if there were a case of your dog getting hurt and injured enough to not be able to walk, well, instead of having to carry it, you could put it in the sling and it would compress the dog as well to you. Yeah, you're going to have to carry it out, but at the same time, it's better than having stuff flop around in case it were that serious. You know, everything's contained and it's easy to pack up and put in one of the sections of your blind bag or your pack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, the best first aid for your dog is knowing what to look for, signs of hypothermia, paying attention to your dog. When your dog's with you, don't hunt for yourself. Enjoy the hunt, but remember that dog's a member of the hunt as well, so pay attention to your dog. Don't wait until you call its name and it doesn't run out to realize that it's got, you know, the unspeakables, broken leg, a hole in its chest, whatever it is. Just pay attention to your dog. Bring water with you if it's hot. You know, if it's cold, make sure you've got a good vest, make sure it fits right, make sure it fits like a wetsuit and it's going to keep your dog warm. But overall, just paying attention to your dog goes a long way, not putting your dog in a position where it's susceptible to getting hurt. Prevention is the best form of protection for your dog, because all he knows is he's going to get that bird and he's going to do everything. They will do anything and everything to please you. So you can send that dog through fire and it's going to go, but doesn't mean you should.
So one of the questions, and this is still around the dog area, but do you need a dog to hunt waterfowl?
I do. Because honestly, I love, if it weren't for the aspect of calling, the aspect of a dog, and the aspect of introducing people into the sport, I don't know if I'd duck hunt anymore. And I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. But a well-trained dog is the best tool of conservation. I mean, it really is. A great dog makes the hunt more enjoyable. You can retrieve down birds quicker. It's a great exercise. It teaches you a lot about the hunt. It's further enjoyment and the passion that we all love. Seeing a dog work is a beautiful thing. I live for it. I love it. I'm not a professional dog trainer, but seeing my dog happy means the world to me. Just like taking Kyle on a spec hunt for the first time, or him taking me goose hunting. I mean, seeing something be happy to be there like a dog can is awesome. And you don't need one. Absolutely not. I do. You may not, but I need a dog to hunt because I love it.
I mean, I would 99.9% recommend if you're hunting waterfowl, whether it's dry field ducks and geese 100% of the year, or if you're hunting in wetlands, recommend hunting with a well-trained retriever, pointer, or whatever, because A, it's going to save you a lot of steps. B, it's going to be able to find all the birds that you might not be able to find from your eye, because we don't have the sense of smell.
Absolutely.
The only time I wouldn't recommend one is obviously if, it just depends on your surroundings. You might be hunting in an area where we're hunting in 30 foot deep of Mississippi water and you don't know what's underneath the water. Then that's whenever you wouldn't want to have one. But obviously, that's just a common sense thing. But I would love if every waterfowl hunter had a good and well-trained retriever.
I'd rather hunt with a dog if it's well-trained. If it's not well-trained and it's not adding anything to the hunt, keep your bad dog at home. Take your bad dog hunting until it gets good.
There you go.
Don't throw it in a position where you're relying on that dog to make the hunt more enjoyable. A dog brings birds in quicker, finds birds you can't find, and saves you a lot of walking, and it's great. It allows you to successfully have your hunt in a shorter amount of time in a more sufficient manner. But a bad dog, not a bad dog, they're not bad. A non-well-trained dog needs to be trained, needs to be hunted with. Take time, do that on your own, get the dog there, and then go hunt and enjoy it. But a well-trained dog, anybody who says they wouldn't want to hunt with a dog, there's not alligators, snakes, or barbed wire in the water. They've never hunted with a well-trained dog because it's a spectacle and it makes the hunt more enjoyable.
Absolutely. Now, given where you guys are at, there's not a massive population of upland birds, but do you guys ever transition your water dogs from waterfowl to upland, or an upland dog from?
One of my first labs that I ever owned was whenever I lived in Washington State, and she came from a great line of dogs that were able to be used in the upland and pheasants game. And we moved from Washington to Michigan before I could really dig into that, but she was great at locating any type of wild game. I would love to be able to do that, but right around where we're located, it's just not. We have quail, but it's the population's declining pretty steadily.
You could go to like a pheasant farm or a game farm or something like that. And they're going to see, great. I mean, they're searching dead or they're searching, as long as they're not seeing that heel, right? I mean, life is good.
I've got a dog. He's a lab, and he's a retriever champion master hunter. So I've never personally seen him do it. I know there's an aspect of that of running like the Grand that they've got to flush and stuff. So my dog's capable. I doubt I'll ever be able to take him to do it because, like you said, we're right here where we are geologically. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'd love to do it. I've done it, never with my dog, but pointers are incredible. I love it. I've done it with other dogs in the past, but Max probably isn't very good at it. He's a duck machine, so we'll let him stay at that. I don't want him to get spoiled on getting those pheasants. So I'll come hunt with you, Ben, and we'll let your dog do it.
All right. So we've got a couple other questions. We're running out of time here too. Looks like we've got 8 minutes before we got to shut her down. But if you guys don't mind, if you could split this up, what are the top 3 dog products that you take with you? And then what are the top 3 products you take that you never leave home without for waterfowl? So
you want to go?
Top 3 dog products, very easy. Invisilab, made by MOMARSH. No matter where you are, unless you're in a boat, you can hunt anywhere. You can hide your dog anywhere. It's happy, it's safe, it's warm, it's elevated. It works. The Invisilab is great for my dog. Next one is during ducks. What's that?
It's a blind, correct?
Yes, it's a blind. It's a dog blind. You can hunt flat or up to 30 inches of water. Keeps your dog hidden, and it's comfortable for your dog. So the Invisilab is probably, in my opinion, the best dog product out there as far as a tool for a dog when it comes to concealment and comfort. The next one is the MOMARSH VersaVest when it's cold. I don't leave the house without one in my truck. It stays there. It's not always 20 degrees when we hunt, but when it is, I'm not leaving the house without it because my dog's not hunting unless it's protected, and I know it's going to be safe. So I'd say the VersaVest. And then the third one, honestly, good food. We use Eukanuba here. Dog food is huge. Feed your dog the right fuel, you'll get the right performance. 3 best dog products other than tap water. Those are the 4 things you need to bring your dog to do something, So you can hide it, you can feed it, you can give it some water, and you can keep it protected. So those are my 4 favorite dog products. Kyle, if you want to.
Yeah. Mine is definitely the Invisilab because it just allows you to hunt with like what we just talked about, with your retriever more. You know, there's a lot of areas whenever I was younger, when I didn't have an Invisilab, that I wished I would have had my dog there with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that allows you to get your dog out of the water. It allows them to stay hidden and get dry quicker.
Yep.
And it just overall it's a great overall product. Fieldhouse LP would definitely be my second favorite one.
What's that now?
It's a smaller version of the Invisilab, basically for dry field hunting. So whenever I go up to Michigan, Wisconsin, wherever, to Canada goose hunt, dry field duck hunt, that's allowing me to keep my dog out in the field, hidden and with a low profile, still with a lot of the great features like an Invisilab has. And then the other one is absolutely the VersaVest. It's a brand new product, but I have a large lab and then I've got a small lab. It's versatile. I can use one vest on both dogs. The one lab I have, Oakley, she's 47 to 46 pounds dripping wet. And then King's like 78 right now. He's a chunky guy. But it just allows me to not have to worry about going and buying multiple vests for the, for a couple different hunts.
Oh, yeah. So. Absolutely. Now, are you guys shooting mainly 12 gauge?
I do. Mostly I do. 12 or 20 for sure.
Yeah. I shoot
Kyle's a purist.
I shoot 12 and a 20 for waterfowl, and then I got a 28 gauge that I got last year. That's really, really fun to turkey hunt with. So
attaboy.
That's a fun one.
Yep.
So
yeah.
But yeah, and then 3 favorite products to carry out while hunting would definitely be the SITKA full choke bag. That one is nice. The newer one with the little bit harder and more water resistance.
Bayou?
Well, the Bayou's the different
gotcha.
one. The full choke's more of like the actual backpack. And that one I love, and I don't know if you guys have them there, but they're the crabbing gloves. They're the,
gauntlet
soft
gloves.
Fur liner. Dude, those are most waterproof, warmest gloves ever. And then obviously my calls, man, that's super important.
Best tools, 3 tools I'm not gonna leave the house without. I'll cheat. I'll do 4. Number 1's my dog. Number 2 is good clothing. I can't express that enough.
Yep.
Everybody's a little bit different. Some people hunt 100 days a year. Some people hunt 1 day a year. But everybody can agree that the right clothing and the right scenario allows you to have a much more enjoyable hunt. If it's raining and you're wet, who wants to be out there? Doesn't matter what activity it is. If you're cold and wet, it's no fun. So get good clothes. We wear SITKA. It's a given. Everything they make is spot on, and we love it. The other thing is my calls. If you see them and can't get their attention, it's not worth being there a lot of times. Waving your hand doesn't work a whole bunch. So good calls. And then the other one, probably have to say is staple, is HIGDON pulsator. It's something that ducks don't get used to. The pulsator's got a special place in my heart, and there's always one in my truck. So those are the few things that are always close to me. If we're going duck hunting, they're always within arm reach.
Good. Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say side tangent here, right?
Here we go.
I know we're running short on time. The pulsator, any water motion you can add, it's almost like driving by a field of geese. If all their heads are up looking like there's something wrong. If there's still water on the pond, there's something wrong. So you've got water motion you're added in there. It's a must when it comes to
it's a game changer.
hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And there's no one magical product.
No.
But when you use them all together in the right way, like we talked about, you use good calling, good water motion, good concealment. If you implement all these things into your hunt, you'll shoot more birds. There's no doubt to it. If you're where the birds are. If you're not where the birds are, good luck. But if you're where the birds are, implement some of these things we spoke about there. They're going to help you.
Well, there has been a ton of questions that we never got to. So if the audience wants to continue this conversation with you guys, can they tune into your guys' podcast? Are you guys available on social media?
Sure.
Obviously, we don't want to cut anybody off, but that hour literally flew by. And there's a ton of questions.
Shoot us a message at Power Calls or at HIGDON Outdoors is probably the best one. Go find us on Instagram at HIGDON Outdoors, Facebook, shoot us a message. Kyle and I both answer messages. So when you're talking to somebody on the other end of face page, it's us. So
that's pretty cool.
That's probably the best avenue. If
you
want to call and talk duck hunting, give us a call.
They're going to be talking to you guys, the guys they saw tonight. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's real cool. Very good. Well, we want to thank you. We don't want to kick you off
Absolutely.
yet. Don't worry. But
Sure.
we're going to have you guys be a part of this, the presentation of, or I shouldn't say presentation, but I'm going to get this awesome red envelope with someone's name in it. Kirsten is handing it to me right now. And the exciting thing about this, thank you.
It's going to say my name.
I don't know if you're eligible. But anyways, I mean, this package is freaking awesome. Like, someone could get this and literally turnkey go kill something.
We know everyone's here for what's in your hand right there.
Yeah, that's
we
right.
appreciate everybody putting up with us for the last hour, because there are some really good prizes in there.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm hoping my fiance wins. It'll be great.
Really? Hopefully she doesn't live in North Dakota, because I think that's where this guy's from. I'm just kidding.
Luckily, she doesn't.
Yeah. So they're getting an A5 Wicked Wing shotgun. Which is pretty cool. They've got the MOMARSH Versadog vest, which I still have yet to see in my hands. I cannot wait till I get my hands on one. We'll get you one. They're getting a waterfowl package from you guys, fully tricked out, and they're getting a $500 gift card for SITKA gear from SCHEELS. So
pretty salty.
I'm pretty jealous. All right, drum roll. Night 2 winner is Russ I of Bismarck, North Dakota.
Dang.
You said Russ?
Russ.
Congratulations, Russ.
Yeah. Congratulations, Russ.
I'm super jealous. Somebody from SCHEELS will be reaching out to you, and I'll work out the details of that. Obviously, there's a firearm involved, so we need to make sure we get the paperwork taken care of on that one. But appreciate everybody joining us. Want to make sure we thank the primary sponsors, SITKA, Browning, you guys, HIGDON, MOMARSH, Power Calls. I think that's everybody, and SITKA, or SCHEELS, I should say. Thank you, SCHEELS, for providing some cash too for us. But tomorrow night we've got more elk talk. You guys can tune in too if you guys ever want to. Turkey hunters, waterfowl callers, we all kind of gravitate towards something we can call and work, and elk is one of those. So we got Jason Phelps, and we got, trying to find his name. I can't remember Dirk's last name, but Dirk from Elk 101 is going to be a part of it too, which we're very excited for. And keep joining us on this week. We appreciate everybody's time. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.